Hey, good evening, everyone. Tonight's Hey, one of them's awake. I feel like let's try it again, so we'll move on. Chief, how are you? Marshall. Today is November 18th, 2019. You're part of the 6 o'clock County Commissioner meeting. We're glad that you're here. There are more interesting meetings in town tonight. If you'd like to go to those, no, we'll stay here. All right, well, it's the tradition of this board. Pastor Michael, if you'll make your way up. Tradition of this board, we begin with a couple of things. We're going to have a Pledge of Allegiance. Before we do that, we're going to have what's called a solemnizing prayer. I always define this so we make sure you guys know what we're doing. Solemnizing prayer is for us. It's not for the folks that are out in the audience. What we do here, we take very seriously. It's a hard job, a lot of decisions to make on behalf of the county, and we really want to make good decisions for all of you. So we seek wisdom, however we can do that. And so we're going to have a solemnizing prayer to begin. Commissioners, if you'll join me, we'll get started.
Lord, thank you for the privilege to be here tonight. We approach the Thanksgiving season, Lord. We're thankful for the county commissioners and the work they do, Lord, and the many hours of preparation they put in for these meetings, and then things that go on all during the week, Lord. We thank for them. Give them the wisdom they need, Lord, and we thank you for their support of this county and the love they have, dear Lord. Thank you for Rowan County, dear Lord. Thank you for an opportunity to be in this county, dear Lord. Pray blessings upon them tonight as they bring these things before us tonight. Be with us now in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Chaplain Taylor, thank you for being with us. It's always good to see you. Appreciate the time that you give to the county. So thank you for being here. Let's see, I've just got one addition that was given to me by the county manager. It's for an addendum to the agreement for ADW Architects, and we'll put that on the regular agenda, item 7A. Are there any other adjustments, additions, deletions to the agenda? All right, if not, do we have a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The minutes for November 4th, motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Consent agenda, items A through N, provided for us. Motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Do we have anyone for public comment? All right, we'll move on to EDC. Scott, for Project Bay.
Thank you, Chairman, Commissioners. Thanks for hearing this request today for Project Bay. This is, I understand,
Is this going to come on? Oh, that's all right. Thank you. It's like magic. Yeah, there we go. Hey, wow, good job.
The company behind this project is wanting to join the burgeoning CBD industry by establishing a new facility to extract, process, and refine CBD oil. And we at the EDC understand this is an unusual project. I think you're going to see more of these since this product is now legal, but this is, of course, the first we've had come across our desk. But as I'm sure most of the board knows, the 2018 Farm Bill that was adopted and signed at the end of last year legalized hemp cultivation and declassified hemp as a controlled substance. And the Farm Bill, and this is important, defines hemp as any derivative of the cannabis plant that contains no more than 0.3% THC, which of course is that psychoactive drug in marijuana that causes the effect of being high. And so hemp-derived CBD is legal under the terms of the, sorry, that should be 2018 Farm Bill, if it contains no more than the 0.3% THC. Products that have CBD that are promoted to have health benefits would be regulated by the FDA and also the Public Service Health Act. And it's important to note as well that all CBD used and produced at this facility would be derived directly from hemp plants, not from marijuana plants. The plan by the company is to extract, process, and refine the oil and then sell it to other companies that make CBD products. They would not make any products themselves there besides the actual oil itself. They've also talked about using the facility as a headquarters for botanical derivative research, judging or researching the effects of these products and also trying to discover new ways, I guess, to better refine it. The building they're looking at is the former EI Solutions building in Kannapolis. Of course, that was a Walmart years ago. Then it became EI Solutions, who recently shut down. We've been told they're also looking at facilities in South Carolina and Kentucky. We haven't been told where in those states. And if we were chosen for the project, they would create 161 new jobs over the next 4 years with an average wage, average salary exceeding $57,000. Some of these proposed jobs include manufacturing technicians, material preparation specialists, and facilities technicians. They would also invest $21.4 million in upgrades to the property, and most of these improvements would be done by the end of 2020. And again, this is in the city of Kannapolis. We've spoken with city staff out there, and it does meet all their zoning requirements as far as we've been told, and we'll continue to work with the city during the permitting process if this facility is chosen for the project. Of course, under your adopted incentive grant, a company that invests over $5 million is eligible for a level 1 grant, which is equivalent to 75% of the taxes, increased tax revenue generated. So of course, this would meet that threshold. And the company is asking for the standard incentive and duration that your policy calls for. And you have the numbers in your agenda packet. Of course, it's based on the current tax rate, and also that the project will be substantially completed by the end of 2020 with smaller investments each year until the end of 2023. And as far as a revenue breakdown, during the 5 incentivized years, of course, the county would collect about $569,000, disperse the $426,000 grant, and retain about $142,000. Over 10 years, those numbers would change to $1.27 million collected by the county. Of course, the same grant number of $426,000 would be dispersed, and then the county would retain about $845,000. The City of Kannapolis also, a week from today, will be considering incentives for the project themselves through their Industrial Development Grant Program. And also, we're working with the company to try to obtain state incentives as well. Excuse me. The first one is a $300,000 1NC grant with the state. It's a discretionary program that the state offers to be competitive in these types of projects. Of course, if approved, the grant will be awarded to the county, who would then disperse funds to the company under the terms of an agreement that would call for job creation and wage requirements. The board tonight would also need to authorize a submission of the 1NC application to the state and authorize the county manager and staff to execute the grant documents. This grant requires a 50% local match, which would be $150,000, but the level 1 tax grant that you're considering tonight would satisfy that local match requirement. In addition, we're pursuing a $250,000 building reuse grant from the state. We'll likely come back to the board next month to ask for a resolution authorizing an application for a building reuse grant. That requires a 5% match. And once again, like the 1NC grant, the level 1 grant tonight would satisfy that local match. So to summarize, EDC is asking for the following things from the board tonight: approval of a level 1 grant for the project, submission of a 1NC application to the state, and to authorize the county manager and staff to execute the 1NC grant documents. In closing, as we mentioned earlier, this project would create 161 well-paying jobs over the next 4 years, and over a 10-year span, the county would collect about $845,000 in new tax revenue. Any questions?
In your conversations with this company, did they talk about if they're looking at this site because of its proximity to the research center in Kannapolis?
Yes, they did speak to the opportunity, hopefully, to partner with them on research for further research for products. But yeah, I think this area was attractive because, not to mention the research campus, but also that it was a former pharmaceutical manufacturing operation. Those are two of the high points that attracted them to the facility.
Does the actual hemp that they purchase, have they talked about where they would buy that from? Like what farms?
Well, they've expressed an interest in as much local product as possible. They had told us that right now about 15,000 acres in the state has been, I guess, licensed for hemp production. They see more coming likely almost every day. But yeah, they would like very much to partner with local farmers if possible.
So I'm not sure, is there farmers in Rowan County that grow hemp?
I don't have a number, but I believe that is correct, yes.
So they would try
They're
to,
regulated, aren't they? They have to apply for a license to do this.
Yeah, yes.
So it's not like I can grow it in my backyard.
No, and that's what I was trying to say earlier when I said there's about 15,000 acres in the state right now that's licensed for, but I think more are applying constantly, so I think you'll see more here and throughout the state as well. But I think also, too, they would need to have local farmers, or at least farmers in the region, manufacture this product. I believe, and I don't have the exact number, but I think there's a certain time period from when they harvest it to where they can take it to the facilities to extract the oil. To maximize its benefits, so they really couldn't utilize out-of-state or farms from far away to, I guess, get the maximum benefit for the product.
and so you said they're not really on the retail side, they're on the manufacturing, sell to retailer.
It'd be like the wholesale. They would extract and refine the oil and sell it to companies who would make the products, the vitamins or whatever they are. So there, to my knowledge, would be no actual product manufacturing there besides just the oil itself.
Are they?
Go ahead. No.
Is this, and I might have missed it, is this a startup, or are they moving from somewhere else, or are they just trying to expand?
It's a startup, and I will share with the board, whenever the state comes across a project, a startup business, it has to be vetted by the state through the Small Business Technology Center and also other layers of bureaucracy. And the state has endorsed the project. As a matter of fact, I was on a call today with someone from EDPNC, and again, they reiterated they supported the project.
Scott, have you had any conversation with them, or have they mentioned once the oil is extracted, then what are they going to do with the byproduct of that?
We've had no real conversation about that, except to the point where they want to try to create as little byproduct as possible. I think that's where the research aspect would come into it. But as far as specifics, no, we haven't had that conversation.
Yeah. Well, that would be an interesting conversation to have because you can make so many things with the fiber from the hemp plant. Mm-hmm. And Henry Ford made a car body way back when with hemp.
Yeah.
My understanding from talking with agriculture people here in Rowan County that work with folks in other counties that have already done this, it's a lot like the old tobacco growing folks that you grow the plant, and you cut it, and then you have to dry it out. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I think it started a lot down east when they are already set up with those drying barns and those facilities that they had at that point in time.
Yeah, and I think the equipment used for these drying processes are pretty impressive as well. They're very large, and I think will be a benefit to the tax base in Rowan County.
So I've got to admit, I am not very educated on this. Honestly, I'm not. And so Scott let me jump on the conference call today with the CEO and also with EDPNC, and so I could ask them some questions, and then did some study beyond that. I know the community will have some questions, from the commissioners. What are you guys, talking about doing? And so the CEO I asked him just some of the basic questions that I had, the difference between hemp and marijuana. They're both a cannabis product, but marijuana has that THC content in it, where the hemp is a different plant, but in the same family, and it has, like Scott said, 0.3 or less THC content, where marijuana has 30% THC content. So hemp is bred to have low, it's bred with a purpose of having low THC, and it has quite a few industrial uses. So they're using it for food, rope, clothing, paper, housing material, cooking oil, flour, and then what they're going to be using it for, I guess, CBD oil, topicals. They even use it in concrete, biodiesel, animal feed. I think what they'll be using it a lot for, the content in it is high in omega-3s, and they use it to treat eczema, psoriasis, have a lot of success in acne treatment, so this is a medical application. So the feds did remove hemp as an illegal substance in that Farm Bill in 2018. CBD, which we're talking about, that is derived from hemp, is legal, but even though you can still get CBD from marijuana, it's the same exact chemical compilation between marijuana and hemp, it is still illegal to draw CBD from marijuana. Mm-hmm. So we're talking about two different plants altogether here. So this is not a get-high plant. This has medical applications, and then the leftover is used in all of these things like we talked about: food, rope, clothing, paper, housing material, and whatnot.
It makes great cattle feed because of all the fiber in it, which is very, very helpful. When I was farming in Wisconsin, we used to haul the cottonseed leftovers from down east up to Wisconsin for our cows.
All right. Any other questions or comments? Just wanted to kind of lay that out there for the public and what we had studied, and we're not inviting anything other than these uses here into the county. Any other questions? All right, then, do we have a motion to approve?
We need a public hearing, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, very sorry, very sorry. All right, so we will open the floor now for public hearing on this Project Bay. Is there anyone who would like to speak? For or against? Have some comments? Anyone? All right, if not, we'll close the public hearing. Commissioners, do we have a motion?
I make a motion to award a level 1 grant for Project Bay, and to have a submission of the $300,000 NC grant application for the state of North Carolina, and to authorize the county manager and staff to execute the grant application and the other 1 NC grant documents.
Thank you, Commissioner. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, we have 2 seconds. Let's see, we'll go in alphabetical order. Jim Green, Klusman. All right, we'll use Jim's this time. Going in alphabetical order. Do we have any other comments, questions? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you very much. Scott, thank you. Rod, you guys doing a good job. Scott's doing a great job for Rowan County. Scott, thank you. Appreciate all your work. Got a lot of stuff going, so you got a good one. Mr. Muir.
Good evening. So on a more serious note, staff has placed a resolution of support for consideration by the Commission regarding the 2020 census. We have distributed this to all the municipalities in the county in hopes that their town councils and commission and aldermen would show their support for the activities surrounding the 2020 census. Census Day is April 1st, so it's right around the corner. The city, as well as the county and some of the other municipalities, and that's the city of Salisbury, are hosting a complete count committee kickoff meeting this Thursday. to encourage partnerships with some of our community organizations and folks that we'd consider to be community stakeholders to help us promote response to the census in 2020. So I'll be glad to answer any questions, but the resolution is pretty straightforward. If you would opt to read it, that would be nice, but we would definitely encourage you to authorize the chair to sign the resolution as well. Any questions?
Ed, you said the meeting's on Thursday. What time does it start?
9:30, we'll have some coffee and donuts, but we'll begin at 10 o'clock.
Thank you.
It's at the West End Plaza Event Center.
Commission would like to thank Ed for all your work on this. Ed has really been heading this up for the county, doing a good job. A lot of folks involved. It's an important task, and so Ed, thank you for your good work on it. We'll talk about this Thursday, but we know the importance of this. An accurate count benefits through federal and state funding allocated to the communities, helps us determine the seats in the U.S. House and state and legislative seats. I won't say any more about that.
Yeah, it's got wide-ranging impacts, and if you don't have an accurate count, it's tough to recover from that. I think the guys in the EDC would even echo this, that a lot of new businesses use census data when they're looking to locate in a community. There's a lot of demographic data, a lot of economic data, a lot of things that you don't think about it typically, but they impact us every day. So the closer we can get to an accurate response, the better off we're going to be, because otherwise you're always going to be 10 years behind.
All right, do we have a motion to approve the resolution of support for the 2020 census?
So moved.
Second.
All right, for a motion and a second. Commissioner Pierce. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Annual planning retreat, something we've had for quite a few years. Look forward to this each year. If you have your calendars, we've got, do you all have calendars in front of you? Try to have it as early in the year as possible. Last year we had it on January 18th, which was the third Friday of the month. If we did the same this year, it would be January 17th, 2020. I think I would ask Commissioner Caskey, I think.
Well, yeah. So I may have some, I wouldn't, just plan it whenever works for you guys, because I may have several weeks of National Guard training in January and February. We'll have to go out of town for
Is there a day or a week in January or February that would work? We're all flexible and
well, I would leave on the 14th and
Won't we have it on the
January.
10th?
it's a Thursday.
Yeah, it's on a Friday. Right.
I'm sorry. Oh, I'm looking at 10th. That work for you?
I think so. That would probably work for me if that's,
Do you get paid all day?
I mean, if you really want to have me there. If I'm not there, then I can blame everything on you guys. Because I don't. The whole year.
So, I like your strategy. You're going to have to work all day Friday if we do this. Is that all right? Oh, yeah. All right. Do we want to make it on the 10th? Manager Church, is that enough time to plan? Okay.
Yes.
From 8:30 to 3:30?
9 to 4.
We're going to have it in Vegas this year.
Man, don't even kid about that. Community officially, we have it right here. We don't have it in Vegas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'd like to request that you check the almanac, make sure it's not going to snow though.
Boy, we had to send four-wheeler after you, didn't we?
Almost.
Almost.
Larry couldn't get here because it snowed him in too.
Funny. We'll check the almanac. So on the condition of good weather. All right, so do we have a motion to make that on January 10th, 2020 from
So
9 to 4?
So moved.
All right, we have a motion, second?
2 hours for lunch.
Yeah. Yes, sir. 9 to 4.
Oh, 9.
Is,
Second. That's who seconded.
Go ahead.
well, that's a long time. We're gonna be here all that whole day?
THC.
Don't know.
Okay.
Don't know. Yeah, it's whatever y'all want, and then we'll be done.
Start at 9 until we're done.
Yeah.
30%
All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 All right, thank you. Leslie?
Yes.
Who's got the most experience to test it?
The first graph shows cumulative property tax collections. And as you know, the tax bills went out a little later than normal, so that our July collections were low, but we have certainly rebounded. And collections are up $4.7 million from the same time period a year ago. We are at 61% of budget, and in the 3 prior years, we were 59% of budget at this time.
So this probably isn't a fair question, but how does this compare to what you were anticipating for that period? Are we, I know I'm springing that on you. So you said what, 4.7 million?
It is the increase over prior years, so
Is that what you had anticipated? Is it less? Is it more?
it is, I would say, $1.5 million more than anticipated through the month of September.
Does that include the 5,000 refunds?
Excuse me?
Does that include the refunds?
It actually does include the refunds.
Okay,
Leslie, that is just, means we collected more.
right.
Yes, sir.
You know, it's not property value is up that much. We had just collected it.
Well, in the first year of a reval, which
Yeah.
these were the first bills to go out, I do think that the tax administrator, whether they're a the tax assessor or an administrator for Rowan County, I think they are very conservative. So it does look like that the bills that we sent out, the property valuation is higher than than the number we used in the budget, which is great.
And we've also had some tax incentives sunset that we issued for like Gildan and these kind of places, so they're paying the full tax load now.
Well, what's on this schedule, they always pay the full amount,
And
and
then
then
we
we
rebate.
turn around and budget an expenditure for the incentive grant.
Right, but what I'm saying, we don't have to do that this year for them.
That's correct.
Okay,
But it wouldn't show on this sheet.
right,
Right?
okay.
Expenditures would show as less. Okay. The next graph is annual cumulative sales tax. And we only have 1 month. So far, that was the month of, we received revenue in the month of October for the month of July. We received 2.3 million. A year ago, we had received 2.1 million. That amount is 9% of budget, and in the prior years, we had received 8% of budget. So we're
Well,
right where I expected
Wait
to
until
be.
cheese curds go on sale at Culver's. We'll see that number go up.
All right. The third graph shows annual cumulative revenue comparisons. And this, from the graph, you can see that revenue is up over prior years, and that is because of what you saw in the prior two graphs. And the last graph is annual cumulative expenditure comparisons. Through October, we have spent $45.6 million. We are at 28% of budget, and the 2 prior years, we were also 28% of budget. So we're where I would expect to be at this time.
Anything else?
That's all I have.
Thank you. All right, budget amendments, item number 7. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
These? Second. In favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anything else for the cause?
You got your
7A.
7A.
I'm sorry. Man, thank you. Manager Church.
Yeah, this is a change order to the ADW architect contract for the Ag Center addition. And what it's for is geotechnical investigation, site survey, and offices for the USDA NRCS. And they're not showing any fee amendment for the geotechnical or the offices for the USDA NRCS. But the fee amendment for the surveying is $16,475. This is normally something that is outside the scope of an architect's contract. But we asked them if it's something they would do. So they're going to do it, and they're going to contract with the surveying firm. Basically, this is to identify different grades, the contours, storm drains, utilities, and other existing conditions on the perimeter of where we're going to be building. The geotechnical, which they're not showing any fee amendment, and to that would be any soil borings where any structures would go outside. Of the 16,475, I think almost 3,800 is to use their private utility location versus the one, the number you call is, I think, 8111. NC 8111 is the one you call, and they feel like they can do a better job at that.
Can you explain that again? I don't understand that.
Which part?
That 3,800.
Well, what the surveying company is telling the architect, and then the architect is recommending paying it, is to pay them to do what normally would be done without any cost. And the reason for that is that the surveyors say in their letter that the service that the free NC 811 that you would call has been unreliable. They're non-responsive, and they only mark locations of utilities that's for subscribing to the service and doesn't mark the entire site. So they're just wanting a more comprehensive marking that you would normally get, for free if you call, call before you dig.
Okay.
Thing. So instead of us using the free services, they're going to use their own private company, and we won't use the call before you dig.
And that's so we don't rupture a line or cut a fiber or?
Yeah, we don't have to do any of this. That's another thing that the architects told me, that it's all optional, but, it could.
The 3,800 part?
Any of it. The surveying, I mean, they highly recommend it, but, you don't have to do any of, you don't have to do geotechnical investigation to determine the soil and stuff either, which there's not a whole lot they're going to do. The only thing that they may do that would affect the soil would be any of the outside structures or the columns on the outside that go up, where those are going to be. The the amount of concrete that would have to be poured based on a guesstimate versus what the actual soil is like could change. So as I understand it, this is all kind of precautionary stuff, you know. It's something that I mean, we know we own what's inside there, but this is more to get like the utilities underground and, you know, to avoid making some type of mistake.
I'd rather we go ahead and do it
This
the
would
right
be-
way then. I'd rather we go ahead and do it the right way than end up cutting a pipe or something.
Well, this would be good for any number of years. If we did a part of it now and part later, we'd already have these things marked and know what we could do and where we could do it at.
The attorney's shaking his head yes.
These are expenses that you should undertake as part of your regular due diligence, so you don't run into problems when you're out there. It's better to pay and find nothing than to not pay and find something.
Yeah, I don't
And
wanna
it's
find
soil
Jimmy
compaction or it's lines, but this is money well
Paid
spent.
for it. I think Jimmy Hoffa is on part of it.
Open up a
isn't he?
museum. All right, do we have a motion then to approve Addendum 1 to the agreement?
So move.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you.